Welcome to the podcast, Pilates for PTs, from business to clinical. Hi y'all, my name is Stephen Dunn. I co-own Core Therapy and Pilates in Austin, Texas, and I'm the founder of Pilates for PTs. I've been a physical therapist for over 20 years, and I've been teaching Pilates and gyrotonic in my physical therapy practice for the last 15 years. In this podcast, I interview experts from all over the world so that you can learn more on how to grow your business or how to improve your clinical skills as a Pilates instructor in the physical therapy world. Thanks for listening.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome. My name is Stephen Dunn. I'm the founder of Pilates for PTs. And today I have a guest on the podcast, and it's a live podcast. And I have with me Adam Potts. And Adam Potts is someone that I have recently ran across, gotten to know, basically based on our alternative view of physical therapy or our different take on physical therapy. And with that said, I want to introduce Adam Potts, Dr. Adam Potts, and have you, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. And then I want you to tell us a little bit about your Tai Chi, because that's really what I'm interested to hear and learn more about.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, I was really excited about this, just to connect with other people, especially during these COVID-19 times. So these platforms are great, and I hope to see more and more of it. And, I hope it continues on even after, because it's just so convenient to get the word out on our messages that we want to send and how we want to serve people. So yeah, my name's Adam. So let's see, I can start way back where I grew up in Boston, in the Boston area. But now I live in Asheville, North Carolina. And so I moved down here because my wife's sister did, and we came down to visit, and we're like, yep, this is where we want to be. So we love it down here. And so, yeah, I went to school up in the Boston area though. So I went to school for exercise physiology, got really into fitness and fitness training. And then I went into physical therapy school. And so, yeah, that was kind of how it started. But what really started me on my journey was when I was in the Marine Corps. And so that was before I went into college. Right out of high school, I went into the Marines for 4 years and 3 months. I got extended for an extra 3 months to do my second tour in Iraq. So, yeah, I got voluntold to go over a second time.
Voluntold, I like that.
Yeah. So
I thought that was an interesting experience as an 18 to 22-year-old man.
Yeah, I got to really see a lot of the world before I was even, 21, 22. So did my first year in Japan. So I went over there for a year. That was when 9/11 happened. And then when I got back, then I kind of shipped right back out to Iraq. So, but yeah, it was interesting though, because when I was in Iraq, well, actually I was in Kuwait. We were waiting to go into Iraq, and because I was in the first wave that went in, and I was really kind of feeling alone. I mean, I was with my fellow Marines, but a lot of them I had just come back from Japan, so I was at a new duty station, and so I didn't really know them very well. I mean, I knew, I was probably maybe 6 or 7 months. I pretty much knew them, so I wasn't really around anyone like my family. I was not around any of my friends that I had deep connections with. And so I was really feeling alone and kind of I just had never felt that. Cause I've always, I grew up in the Boston area, so we're surrounded by people, it's kind of crowded up there. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'll tell you, so what happened was, what really started my spiritual practice was when, and eventually led to Tai Chi, was I felt alone and I was like, man, I just feel like I need something. I feel kind of empty. And so I actually started reading the Bible. And so I grew up Catholic, but I never really was that focused on it. But, they give us those books when we go overseas, and so I had a little pocket Bible. So I'm like, yeah, I'll start reading it. And I started reading it, and I was just started thinking about not necessarily God, but it was more like I was just trying to look within. And I found this deeper feeling of, basically all I can do is describe it as this love, And so, and it wasn't really in the pages though, because I kept reading and then it was like a glimpse, and then it kind of went away. And then I started looking through, I was reading. I'm like, I got to find it, And I didn't really find much else. And then so I went through the Marines, then I got out, then back to school. So I'm in school for exercise physiology, and then I was wanting to get more flexible because I was doing a lot of weightlifting. I got really into weightlifting in the Marines, and so I was like, oh, maybe. And my sister's like, she got me a yoga DVD, and I was for Christmas, and so I was like, all right, so I'll try that out. And so I was doing yoga to get more flexible. Probably a lot of people that maybe also have the same story,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
love that. You went from the Marines, where you put on a lot of muscle and they get you big and strong. And then you got out of the Marines and you found yoga as the thing that you wanted to do to work on your mobility and flexibility. But through the Bible, you found love, and which led you on a little bit of a spiritual path that is a part of your Tai Chi world. So again, I love how all these little pieces of the chapters, we'll say, are kind of coming together. So I love it. Continue on.
Yeah. So I was doing some yoga, but immediately when I first listened to the music, it was like the flute. I think it was a Native American flute music, actually, the DVD that I listened to. And I just was like, oh man, it's so peaceful. I love it. And then I started doing the practice, and I was like, this is way more to yoga than just flexibility. So, so I went with it, and so I really get into things. Like I said, I went into the Marines. I go full speed when I do things. And so I started doing yoga twice a day. I eventually went to yoga school and became a teacher. And so, but it was really around the same time I started doing yoga. I started looking into, okay, what are some other of these spiritual practices? And so I started reading all about yoga, and then I ran into Tai Chi and qigong, which is like I call it the easier version of Tai Chi. It's what Tai Chi came from, and I was learning about this stuff called Qi, and I was like, oh man, what is that? It's really interesting. Never heard. You see about it. You see like these movies, like the kung fu movies, and all these like mysterious things that happen. So it's like, oh, what's going on there? And but then so another event happened, and then so I got into trouble drinking, actually, and so I had to quit drinking. And so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? I can't. I was in school. I didn't want to I wanted to be a PT, so I'm like, I can't get into any more trouble and not that I won't reach my goals. I won't be able to serve people the way I want. And so I quit drinking, and that was about 12 years ago, or 13 now, maybe even. So I haven't had a drink since, and my life changed so much since then. And so what I did though was I needed something to replace the drinking with, so I started to meditate. Based on I was doing yoga, learning about this Qi, learning about Tai Chi and qigong and all this stuff. So and what was common, and even in Christianity, there's a big focus on meditation. Maybe not as much focus, more on praying in Christianity, but they do, if you read through some of the stuff, they do talk about it. And so this meditation was this universal practice that you could do no matter what you believe in. And so I was like, oh, okay, I love that. So I started doing that twice a day. So I was doing yoga and meditating, and then and learning about Tai Chi and qigong. And then I actually got some DVDs, probably about a year after I started doing the yoga. And I started just doing them all together. And so I just started to do yoga one day, Tai Chi and qigong another day, meditate every day. That's the core of my practice to this day too. And it just saved. I really think it saved my life. It was just really, really an amazing thing.
Where was PT school in that process? Was PT school before Tai Chi, or was PT school after Tai Chi?
After I got all this, I got into most of the stuff when I was an undergrad in exercise physiology. So, but I was at UMass Lowell up in Massachusetts, and then I went to undergrad and grad school there. So I just kind of did my whole schooling there.
Got it. And so by the time you went to PT school, you really had again many chapters between your Marines, between your journey with alcohol, and your stopping it. And kudos to you, man. I grew up in New Orleans, so I know a lot of folks that have had trouble with alcohol, and my family and friends. So congratulations, and thank you for your service in the Marines. But you've had an interesting journey just to get to PT school, going through the stuff and learning about meditation, love, yoga, Tai Chi, and qigong, and then you go to PT school. Did PT school try to take some of that out of you? How did you handle the approach from PT school compared to where you came from?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't focus on some of those deeper spiritual things, especially as a PT, it's, very mechanical at times. But, especially nowadays, though, when we talk about the pain science, and they always talked about this ICF model, where we take the whole person into account. So not only their physical, not only their whatever, pathologies they might have, but also their lifestyle and what other stuff they're doing. And even, now even, it's in our scope to talk about nutrition and stuff like that. So it's starting to grow, I think, with people's demand. I think the public is wanting more, and it takes a long time to catch up, but I think we're doing it. And I think this is part of it is just trying things out, trying all these different practices and trying to integrate them, because there's not really one, what I've found is there's not one practice that has it all. There's always something, so like PT is great for healing, especially for injuries. And then, but then it's sometimes it is missing the spiritual part. So that's where we can add in some mindfulness, or add in some principles from yoga and Tai Chi and meditation, and all those things can just, they just really go together well. And not that you have to do all of them, but, I mean, I like to, but sometimes there's not enough time in the day.
And the clients really, from my perspective in my business, the clients love that approach on our side, where we're approaching the mental, the physical, the biomechanical, but also giving them the space to, like, it to be more than biomechanical, and it come from a different place. And just being willing to teach people to breathe and make them focus and concentrate on something other than, like, what's the next thing I got to do right now? So I love that. Now, for me, I was a PT first, and then I got interested in Pilates, and it changed the way I did PT. Now, when you got out of PT school and you did your clinicals, and I'm sure in your clinicals you kind of had to jump the hoops of where you were working and doing, but then what did it take when you got out of school? How long did it take? What was the process for you to start implementing all of these things that you just talked about with all of your clients? Was that a journey, or was that something you did immediately? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually, when I was in PT school, we do the clinicals. And so for my school, we basically had a month off each summer between classes, and then we had classes and clinicals here and there. But yeah, so we basically had a month off. And so it was my third year, and I had that month off, and I spent that month actually at yoga school. I decided, I'm not going to take a break. I'm going to go right into, but it ended up being one of the most restorative things I've ever done. It was funny because I was so into the science that I was tracking my heart rate variability the whole time. And so I had a strap that checked it in an app. I think it was called iThlete. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, that's a new one for me. No.
Yeah, there's another one called I think Bioforce maybe, or something, but I haven't used it in a while. But yeah, I had it. It's called iThlete, like I and then iThlete. And anyway, so I wore it on my chest, and so I tracked my heart rate variability every morning, and it was a steady. So my heart rate variability steadily climbed up and that's a good thing for heart rate variability, because that means it becomes more variable, so you can adapt to your situations better. Because you don't want your heart to just be steady the whole time, like at the same rhythm, because when you're running, you want it to be faster. When so it means that I basically was becoming more adaptive, because I was doing this practice where we did yoga for at least two times a day, but this was for a lot longer than I was doing, and working on all these deeper aspects. So anyways, so I was doing that. So that was when it made a huge impact on me, and I was like, I have to integrate this into my practice. Well, I always wanted to. I just felt like it was right to integrate it. And so what I did was, after I graduated, I actually taught some yoga, because I actually went to a residency. So I did a 1-year residency in Oregon for orthopedics to become an orthopedic clinical specialist in PT. And so it took me about 7 months though before I could start the program. So within that, I started to teach yoga and qigong, which is, like I said, it's kind of like a very basic form of Tai Chi. And to simplify it, maybe a little too simplified, but but anyway, so I was doing that and doing some personal training on the side, and then I went to my residency, and then I started to work as a PT at that point. And so when I was doing that, then I was integrating all these things. I was trying to integrate them all right away. So everyone that I saw got a breathing exercise. And then there's people that then I realized that not everyone, that's maybe not, thing to start off with for everyone, because some people, they need to do other things and then maybe go into more of the stuff that's not quite specific to their, complaint or whatever. But anyways, yeah, I started to integrate breathing exercises, with everyone. And then anyone that was open to it, I would do short guided meditations for like 5 minutes, maybe even 3. And even if it was like a body scan, just to get people more aware of their body. Because in my mind, it made sense that the more aware they are, then the better they'll get with their exercises and whatnot. But in my mind, it's also, I knew what it did to heart rate variability from a scientific perspective, from my own experience at least. And now there's just tons of research. So yeah, I started to integrate it right away. But then I started to kind of back off from it a little bit, because I kind of was like doubting. I'm like, maybe I don't want to be pushing things on people, and and I wasn't quite that great as a PT at doing the mechanical stuff, and so I was like, maybe I should just focus on that. And so it was a journey where it was ups and downs, where I integrated it here and there. And then especially people that did yoga or Tai Chi, then yeah, I would definitely add it in. But people that weren't, I was a little hesitant to just kind of say, okay, let's do some breathing. And they're just like, well, my knee hurts. Why do I have to, and then fast forward to today, I kind of have the same thing, where I come from this level of all these experiences. So I don't necessarily have to give someone a breathing exercise, but I come from the state, I think, that people respond to of this mindful state, where I look at the whole person, they feel heard. And then I do have these techniques that we can add in as needed, especially people that are into that lifestyle. Got it.
And that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of the people that find us, they're interested in Pilates as a part of they may not know that Pilates is a part of PT, but once they see that that's something they can have, and that I incorporate Pilates into my therapy, it's a selling point for many people. For many, they don't even understand or care or know what that is, and that's fine too. But because the people that actually understand Pilates, they already have a little bit of mindfulness. They've already been learning to breathe and learning to pay attention where their body is. And Pilates and yoga are very different, and Tai Chi, I think, are all very different. But coming from this being aware of yourself within that body scan, I think is awesome. Because like for me, I take someone through like a movement assessment where we're looking for that aggravating sign or that aggravating symptom, like, oh, this hurts or this hurts. Well, once we find that, then we do the treatment and we recheck it. And so you're just not doing a mechanical assessment or a pain provocation assessment, but just kind of a general body scan. Are they sitting? Are they laying? Or does that depend?
Yeah, it just depends. A lot of times I'll just do, lying down is nice because you can just relax more.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, especially if it's a brief one, like 3 to 5 minutes, just to get people to just come out of their heads and into their body. And then what I do is try to find areas that are in pain. You can notice that, but then you find areas that are not in pain and focus on those. Because people, especially in chronic pain, they're so hypersensitized to focusing on that pain that they don't even realize that maybe 90%, they might be 90% of their body actually feels good. And if they focus on that, that becomes more of their in front of their mind. And so they still have the pain, but they're not going around thinking like, all I am is this pain, so it just gives people perspective, I think. And just this, from a neurological perspective, it just creates this physiology where people can just kind of get out of that threat response a little bit too.
Get out of the fight or flight response, huh?
Yeah, because we're all kind of walking around, and at least a low grade. Some of us a high grade stress response.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, with that being something you do in the clinic, do you have a digital recording of that, or a video recording of that, or something that you provide to clients to use at home?
I do it. I do have some stuff recorded on my website. Actually, I have a business called beginwithbreath.com, and it all started off as me wanting to just give my patients resources. And so I started to record guided meditations, and then yoga videos, and then some qigong, and then but then it ended up but that's what it just started off as. So I kind of started a business by mistake. I kind of think of it because all of a sudden now that's my main thing is especially now that I'm not working at my my brick and mortar clinic that I'm an employee of. So now my whole thing right now is online telehealth PT. I also do health coaching from a functional medicine perspective, because I'm trained in that. And then also online Tai Chi classes. So I do group classes and then also private sessions. And we can go through traditional forms, or the method I teach to groups is called Tai Chi Fit.
Got it. Now, what's different about Tai Chi Fit than, say, regular Tai Chi?
So I guess traditional Tai Chi is usually, we think of it as 5 main styles based on the 5 families that made it big back in the day. And so the first one that was kind of developed was called Chen style. And that's Tai Chi where you have a lot of flowing motions and graceful circular motions, but also combined with explosive movements. And so it's a combination. And so that was the first one, but it's not the most popular one. The most popular style in the whole world is called Yang style, or it looks like Yang, but we say Yang. And so Yang style is basically the whole thing is just very graceful, flowing, circular movements. And there is some kicks, and then there's a couple of spins here and there, but overall it's very gentle, and it's the most accessible, I think, to people, because there's some other styles too that they're very gentle too, but in my opinion, they're just not quite as beautiful. They're not quite you don't make as big of movements, so it's very more internal, and so you work on this internal energy. And so that's the traditional style. And so the traditional styles, you typically learn it like a dance. You learn a sequence. And so the most popular in the world is the Yang style 24 movement form. And so that's 24 movements that you memorize, and it can take weeks to learn it, or even months. And then you learn one, and then you practice the movement, and then you learn the second, and then you start to weave them together, because ultimately with Tai Chi, if you practice, you realize that you just never stop moving. And so it's very circular. There's not many edges. It's very much like nature. And that's the whole idea, is that you learn to move like nature, and because we are part of nature. And so, and it has a really great healing effect. And so, so the traditional styles can be tough to learn. And I think that's why it's not as popular. Like yoga, you just follow along. But with Tai Chi, you kind of have to get the movement down, you get it right, you do drills, you practice it. And so they say that you start off with 20 students as a teacher, and you end up with like 2 oftentimes, maybe more than that, but yes. Because people are like, oh, this is hard, and I have to memorize stuff. And so I learned from my teacher. His name's David Dorian Ross, and he's kind of like I think he says he's responsible for teaching Tai Chi to the most people in the whole country out of any other teacher, which I believe it, because he worked for Gaiam, so he was on the DVDs, he was on PBS, and he was kind of like the Tai Chi guy when it was really not popular at all. And so so he actually developed a style, kind of invented one called Tai Chi Fit. And so it's more actually like yoga, to where you follow along and you just do what you see, and you don't have to memorize anything, you don't have to learn anything, and you just follow along, so you can actually get into this flow on day one. And that's the thing about traditional Tai Chi, is it can take weeks or months before you learn it, and then you can get into this flow, which is the state where you're like just loving it, and you just feel great. It's healing, you're present, and it has just tons of mental and spiritual benefits, but also the physical ones, as probably most people know of, like the balance, prevention of falls, strengthening, and a little bit of flexibility. Not as much as yoga, but there's some stances and whatnot that. But just movement in general just gets the joints moving, so it's great for arthritis. And then there's also studies on blood pressure and everything else. It's kind of a whole laundry list of benefits, so you can't really go wrong.
Well, I love what you said about nature, because as PTs, one of the first things we learn is to measure in this real linear world, right? And we don't really live in that world, but that's what we're taught to measure. That's what we're taught to objectify. And that's the same thing with the Pilates work and the gyrotonic work that we do. It's much more about a flow and a rhythm than this real kind of mechanical motion, biomechanical motion. So that really was something that stuck out with what you said. And any PTs that we all know how mechanical we're trained. And again, I love that. Now, I want to share a little bit of something with my story of how I learned of Tai Chi at first. And you and I have talked about this, but this is not something anyone else probably knows. So I wanted to share this because I think Tai Chi was a vital part of my career or my getting to Pilates, but not because I did it, but because I had a teacher. And I was in PT school in the 90s, 96 through 98 back in New Orleans. And I had a teacher, and she was tough, man. And she was a neuro teacher, and she was a hard teacher. And I didn't really I can't say I liked her that much because of how hard she was. And, you know, she scared me a little bit with how hard she was. But she was the first person I'd ever heard of Tai Chi from. And when she would go into talking about Tai Chi, she went from this hard ass into this really chill lady. And I was like, whoa, what's the difference here? What's going on? But she was talking about how she would do Tai Chi in the neuro population, whether they were, and the amputee population, because those were the two things that she spent time working with. So I never spent much time with her as I never worked in those settings. So I never saw her working with patients, but she always would go to a different place. She changed physically when she started talking about Tai Chi. When she started talking about regular PT stuff, she turned into this kind of tough lady, right? So I found that interesting, and I just took note of that. And I don't even know if I went into that detail with you when we talked, but it was the first person that had really done something very different than just traditional PT. And here she was teaching us, yes, I'm a PT, but yeah, I do Tai Chi as well. So fast forwards for me to about 2001, and I heard and found out about Pilates for the first time. And when I heard and found out about Pilates, I thought back to my experience with that teacher, that professor, and how she used it in a way that wasn't what anyone expected. So I immediately said, I can take Pilates, learn it in my body, and what I learn in my body, then apply it to other people, teach other people. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm really happy that she exposed me to Tai Chi. Now, I never did it or anything with her, but it was just, again, a passion that she talked about enough that it resonated. I remembered that more than anything else about this teacher. I don't even remember her name, but I remember she was the Tai Chi teacher, right? So that was really beneficial for me. You know, I'm a big dude and I'm a big athlete, and Pilates, it's a lot of old dancers who are tiny people. And so I don't really fit the mold of what I look like and the method, right? But I love my teacher taught me that you can learn something and provide it and serve it to your clients no matter what it is. And some are going to love it and some aren't, but you got to kind of pick your battles. So for me, I've chosen to pick my battles by specializing and being Pilates as being a part of my treatment plan. Everyone knows that when they come in, we're going to be teaching them Pilates through the process. And then there's a point where I let them go and move them over to work with my trainers. But if it weren't for this process through school and hearing about it, I'm not sure I would have been so open to Pilates whenever I did hear about it several years later when it became, again, a big part of my life. So I was a PT first, got exposed to Pilates. It changed everything I did. You had all these interesting chapters to get to PT school, did PT school, and then since then have been able to pick and choose what you want to pull from all those chapters to be a part of what you're doing every day now. And I think that's really cool, and I think that's really awesome. And again, that's just my summary of what I've heard today. But you told me some new chapters today that we didn't talk about in our last conversation. And I love that. And I think that's cool. Now, you mentioned a few things. You mentioned your Tai Chi and your online Tai Chi stuff. And you mentioned some life coaching or health coaching. Was it health coaching? Is that what you said?
Health coaching.
Tell me a little bit about what a difference is of being a PT or being versus when you're being a health coach. How is that different? What does that look like? Yeah,
so well, in North Carolina too, the laws are a little bit strict as far as what you can do as a health coach. So you have to be kind of careful here. But in general, what I do with people is my PT. I usually see people through either PT. They either come to see me for that, or they see me through the Tai Chi. And so the health coaching is something that I kind of introduce to people that, especially with chronic pain, because the thing is with chronic pain, there's a lot of other factors than just the mechanical. Now, it's still important to address the mechanical, because mostly, who doesn't have some sort of impairment that, can be addressed. So we look at the mechanical, but then if they need more than that, then what I do is I introduce them to the health coaching as well. And so I'm trained in what's called functional medicine. And so it's basically this idea that we don't look at necessarily the diagnoses. I mean, we take those into account, but those are like they describe it as like a tree, and those are the branches. Those are all the diagnoses that people have, but it's the roots underneath is what causes all those diseases. Yeah. And so if we can actually get to the root of the problem, then we don't have to focus on diagnoses or prescribing or any of that stuff. We can just focus on balancing all the systems of the body. And so in functional medicine, they divide it into several systems, such as assimilation, energy, biotransformation, and then structural integrity, and so on and so forth. And so we look at all these systems in the body, and and then also the contextual of the mind, and we look at nutrition, we look at sleep, hydration, if they're taking any supplements, what kind of things what's that doing, and then their history too, as far as their family history. And so we look at everything. So it's kind of like where PT was going, but this is like even more specific. And so we go through any past trauma, and people can relay what they want, but the more that we can figure out, the more it paints this picture to where we can actually see what's going on at a very, very deep level, and therefore we can get people to a very, very high level. And so if people just want to get their knee feeling better, that's one thing, and that's fine. I'll say, okay, come to me for PT. But if they're willing to look at their nutrition especially, and look at some other stuff, then they can actually get to even a higher level, because even though their knee might be feeling better, they still might be miserable based on some other stuff going on. And so it's a way, so it's just a way that I can help people even more so by looking at even more, and we help guide people so that they become active participants, and they feel like they know what to do. It's just a really comprehensive program that I usually goes for 12 weeks at the minimum. And it's a way that people can be accountable for getting a lot of lifestyle factors, because a lot of times these things are all combining to cause inflammation, oxidative stress, and an impaired immune system. And so those are the foundations of what usually causes diseases from a functional medicine perspective. And there's ways to balance those conservatively, especially through lifestyle and nutrition.
And so this is a program that goes 12 weeks. Is this virtual? Is this in clinic? Or is it a combination? How does that work?
Yeah, right now it's 100% online, because it's really nice because especially now, because people can't get out. But so what I have is depending on what we need, we do an initial consult, and then we do 4 to 5 more one-on-one visits through telehealth. But then what they have is every week they get a new module on some sort of lifestyle or some sort of thing that we've talked about, and they get a new module every week. So there's 12 weeks where they're constantly being engaged on how to address sleep patterns, how to address nutrition, how to cut out their cravings for sugar, how to cut out caffeine if they want, and all the way up to how to deal with chronic pain through pain science. So we kind of like, it's kind of like a comprehensive thing that looks at not just the structures, but everything as well. And then people have 24 access to me as well, because the platform I use, there's a chat function. They can just send me a chat, and then I answer them. And so they have this support that people need. So that's where the coaching part comes in, is where, they go to a doctor, they give them a prescription, they say, all right, see you in a couple months or a year or whatever. But here I can help them kind of go through with what their doctor even said, and then help them actually manage, help them go through. But then, we dig even deeper than just the symptoms. So they'll be able to address their symptoms, but then they'll actually, with me, they'll be able to balance the underlying systems in their body so that they don't continue to have these flare-ups or whatever they're having.
So the accountability seems like a big part of that, and a real big player as far as kind of keeping them moving forward at a time. Now, let me back up. Are these people that are typically come from PT into this program, or are you finding these people not through PT or a combination?
Both, yeah. So some people I'll have in combination. Some people I'll have instead of PT, and then some people, because sometimes if say they're just getting over some back pain, maybe I'll just show them an exercise to help with prevention, and then go through the deeper stuff of if they're also having digestive issues, or they have chronic fatigue, or they have any host of symptoms can be helped. Even if they aren't cured, you can help them at least through lifestyle, nutrition, and looking at some of these other practices like adding in meditation. And I guide people through that. So I'm kind of like a one-stop shop to where you can get all these things if you want. And and then I have the option for just PT if you want that too. Although I still add in some of the stuff, but we don't go as depth, especially with nutrition. We don't go into as depth. But that might be changing too. I'm still kind of seeing what works. But right now it's really awesome that I can just focus with one thing and people know what they're getting. So if they do the health coaching, they know they're getting one-on-one support every day, modules every week if they want, and then also one-on-one visits with me as well. And so it's really comprehensive. Where the PT is good too, but people can always contact me too whenever they want. But yeah, and then I have the Tai Chi program too, where I teach people usually the traditional Yang style form. And so the Yang style, it's usually there's several forms you can learn. So you can learn the 8 movement form, the 16, the 24, which this is the most popular. But then I also teach the 40 movements, and then also 103 movements, which is the original. This is thought of as the original Yang style. The long form. But yeah, they broke it down because people were like, I can't, it took me the better part of a year to learn the 103. I kind of did it at my own pace, but yeah, so they kind of broke it down. So the 24, but I usually start people with the 8 movement form because it has all the principles that you need. It has all the principles of Tai Chi, and then you learn a lot of the movements without worrying about the complex ones at first.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, then my weekly classes, I have also the Tai Chi Fit, and which is a great introduction if you've never done Tai Chi before, because then you learn all the movements. They're not perfect, but they're good enough to be safe. And also you get all the benefits of Tai Chi without having to learn complex routines. But, people tend to then they get it and they're like, okay, now I want to learn some that I can know for myself. And so that's when they go into the traditional Tai Chi. But the great thing is they usually stay. So instead of starting off with 20 and ending with 2, I usually start off with 2 and then it grows into 20 because people already know some of the movements in their body. They've already been kind of introduced and they don't feel stressed and they feel the benefits. So they're like, oh yeah, I know this helps, so I'm going to do this.
That makes sense. Now let me ask you this, because I think this is a question that it's a really popular question when it comes to the Pilates and PT world. But do more people find you for Tai Chi, or do more people find you for PT?
Yeah, more people find me for Tai Chi because I do, up until this week, I'm doing, this week too included, I do 3 live stream full classes a week on Facebook and YouTube and on Zoom. And so I've been doing that since COVID started, the quarantine started. Yep. And so then that just, really increased my my reach to people. So people really found me on, especially like some of my old friends that, hadn't seen in years, they're still friends on Facebook. I put it on my personal page so they'd see it. And so, people usually find me through Tai Chi. But, so some big news is my wife's pregnant and she's due next week. So
oh, yeah.
I don't know. I think I might have told you that. It's been a few weeks, but yeah, so now it's coming.
That's awesome, man. That's some congratulations, and get ready. This is your second, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we have a 3-year-old girl son, and then we have a boy on the way. So
that'll be fun. I have 2 boys, 11 and 14, and it doesn't take long for them to go from 1 and 3 to 11 and 14. That's what's crazy. It's like, wow, how did that happen so fast? So, well, Adam, man, I really appreciate you coming on today. And again, Tai Chi is something that I know is new to many people. I've known about it for 25 years, but it's still not something that I'm familiar with. But I know when I talk about mindfulness and mindful movement, there's only a handful of disciplines that fall into that these days. And Tai Chi is definitely one of those. And so that's a big part. Like, again, we say we're a Pilates studio. We really talk about the mindfulness. You know, we have a class that we taught for 2-3 years called Mindful Movement Monday. And it was a free class on Facebook we did live every Monday for just 10 minutes, just to do a little training that people could go along with in their desk or anywhere they were in the world. And that mindfulness is the piece, and that's going to continue to allow me to meet more people like you and draw us together, because that's what drew me to you, is that we're talking about how we can collaborate with our Pilates and Tai Chi world, with some of my new website, the Pilates to Thrive, where I'm selling memberships, and I want to offer not just Pilates videos, but I want to offer Tai Chi videos and yoga videos and other things. And that's really how we've been getting the discussion or having discussions. It's over that, but it's because of the mindfulness that led to us to come together. And it's awesome, because there's so many people just doing they're doing PT, and they're doing it great, but there's just like the vast majority of PTs in the outpatient realm are doing it so similar. And I've created my own unique way of doing things. You've created your own unique way of doing things. And I think we need more PTs out there doing our own unique thing, because our own unique things are going to survive better than the PT field in this pandemic and the crazy world that's happening. That's just my thought and take, because I've seen it for 20 years in my business that people know more about Pilates than PT. And they show up here for Pilates. I had a conversation with a lady just yesterday, and she reached out, left us a message, and I spoke to her, and she's already scheduled an appointment with a PT, and it's for her son. And we were talking, and she's like, okay, well, the reason I reached out to you is because y'all have Pilates. So can you tell me about your Pilates program and how, what you're going to do is with your program is going to be different than the guy down the street. And she'd already expressed that she was concerned about coming in because I didn't take her insurance. But I went ahead and had a discussion on how I could help her son, who's a competitive volleyball player, and on how I could help him, and listening to her story and what he needed help with, and then saying, well, this is how I would implement Pilates into the mix of what I would do. And then after having a conversation with her for 10 minutes, 15 minutes on what they needed and how I could help them, what sold her was not my PT, it was Pilates. And she's like, okay, so she signed up for a free assessment in a couple of days, I think on Friday. Well, I don't know, today, I think today's Wednesday, my days are off. Yeah, in a couple of days. And I'm excited to see her, because I love working with kids, and I think I'll hit it off great with him. But at the same time, I know they've already seen another PT that he didn't hit it off with. And they're going to see another PT as well. And now the reason they even called me was because the one word in my title of my business is Pilates. And the son wouldn't have called me, but the mom called me, right? So whenever the son is in here and we're doing his assessment, the mom is going to be the one listening. I hope the son is interested in what I'm offering and wants to sign up for my plan. But the mom is also someone that I'm targeting as a potential future client, because she's going to be in that target audience and age of my ideal client. Her son, I always say, I target the mom, and then by knowing the mom and getting to know the mom, I can work with the sons very frequently. But this is a scenario, if it weren't for Pilates in her name, I'm confident she wouldn't have called me. And when I called her, I was a little late getting back to her just because things are crazy, and I missed that phone call. And I called her and I said, look, I'm very sorry for getting back to you, later than I would have. And she goes, oh, well, I've already scheduled another appointment. And I said, okay, well, then I don't want to waste any more of your time. And she says, well, wait, can you tell me a little bit about your program? So again, I was in a situation where I was about to hang up and just let her go because she had scheduled someone to go somewhere else. But by me then taking the time to talk to her, communicate with her, and again, there was something different that I offered that none of the other people that they were going to call was going to offer. Now, we'll see how it happens or how it goes with this kid in a few days. But I feel real comfortable that between him or his mom or his brother or his sister or his dad, that someone in that family is going to resonate with what we're doing here. And they may not become a client right away, but I think that someone will eventually. And again, that's kind of this long-term game that I like to play, but it's all based on people finding me for Pilates. they're like, oh, wait, I need PT, but oh, wait, you do Pilates too? That opens a different door and a different loop in their brain, because people still don't know what physical therapy is. They still don't know what we do as a whole. Our profession is still lost with its ability to communicate a message, a clear message of what we do, because we do so much that no one knows anything. My friends don't have any idea. I wore scrubs today for the first time in forever, and my neighbors, when they see me in scrubs, they're going to be like, what the hell? What are you doing wearing scrubs? And I'm going to say, because I'm a physical therapist. And they're going to be like, oh, you're a physical therapist? Because they're not even going to know, because it's a conversation we haven't discussed. Because if they're asking me what I do, I'm telling them about how I can help people. I'm not telling them I'm a PT, because they don't generally know what it is. So that's a little tangent about that. But I had a feeling you were going to say Tai Chi, and that's why I asked. And you said it what I was expecting. And again, the story you gave about it was exactly what I see on my side in a different discipline, but a similar idea. So, Adam, anything else you want to add into the mix or of what we've talked about? I'm going to have to wrap it up here.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, for anyone out there, I hope you find, if you need help, then I hope you find someone that does incorporate this type of mindfulness into their practice so that they can help you at a deeper and higher level. And then also, if any clinicians or teachers are watching too, then consider getting into some of these things. It doesn't matter what, just try to expand and grow. Especially anything with mindfulness in it is going to be key. And
that's right.
I wish you all, and then that way you can come from that level, even if you don't teach it, you still have that level that people will respond to. So
sure, and it's an energy and it's a vibration that people resonate with, or they don't. And guess what? The ones that don't resonate with it, I'm happy for them to go, because I'd rather focus on the people that do resonate with it. And so that's a very strong feeling that we have at our studio. It's very, very vital to keep that energetic feeling as well. So, and again, that's a phrase and a word that scares a lot of PTs. You start talking about energy and vibration, but that's something that really makes a big difference in our world when it comes to the people that we're attracting into our business, and the people that become our long-term clients, and the people that we can really serve on a true deep level. So, for people that want to reach out to you, I know we've mentioned a few things about your websites and whatnot. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you if they would like to find out more information about you or your programs?
Yeah, the easiest way is to just go to my main website, beginwithbreath.com. Perfect.
All right, that's what I flashed up earlier in the podcast. So, all right, man. Well, look, I appreciate your time. I'm excited that to learn more about the stories and, again, the different chapters that bring us to where we are, and we need those chapters in so many places, in so many ways, I should say, to get to where we want to go. And you're able to really help people on many levels that we as PTs, we're kind of refined. We're taught to help people on one level. And I feel like I can help people on a way different level because of the mindfulness that I incorporate with my business and the questions that they ask me, because I'm willing to go there, like the conversations that we have. So I know you have great conversations with your clients, and they trust in you in a way that they don't trust in many other practitioners or any other practitioners out there. And so that's a testament of something really special for what you're doing, man. And I love hearing about it. So with that said, thanks a bunch for your time. And you and I will be chatting soon about our collaboration. And thanks again. And we'll chat on the flip side, my man.
All right. Thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.
Take care, man. See ya.
All right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you did, could you do us a favor and leave some love and write us a review? My name is Stephen Dunn. I help physical therapists incorporate Pilates into their physical therapy practice. If you would like more information on how you can incorporate Pilates into your physical therapy practice, then like my Facebook page, Pilates for PTs.